Summer is here, which means we all want to look and feel our best. A GLP-1 may be right for you. Visit orderlymeds.com to learn more about which GLP-1 you could be eligible for. Getting started is fast, easy, and happens virtually through telemedicine from licensed professionals. Check it out for yourself. Go to orderlymeds.com/podcast. That's orderlymeds.com/podcast. Taking care of yourself feels great. Compounded medications are not FDA approved. Eligibility required and determined by a licensed provider. Individual results may vary. See website for details.
Hello, friends. It is Tuesday, the 30th of June. It is the end of the month. We've got Team Canada still playing at the World Cup. The Blue Jays finally won a game yesterday. What a time to be alive. A lot of reasons to smile, not the least of which a lot of people across Canada get the day off tomorrow, and that's good. We do not get enough days off in this country. Coming up on this episode, and I'm going to keep it fairly short, but I want to get to an important topic. I want to talk about education and sports. A shocking announcement has come out of the Doug Ford government regarding education and sports. I'm going to get to that coming up. But before I do, a couple of things I want to talk about. I mentioned the World Cup. Well, the folks over at Barstool, in particular Dave Portnoy himself, are talking smack about Canada. Listen to this and see if you agree.
And I don't know if we're the victim here of the NCAA-ification of the World Cup, in which we had a lot more teams in. I cannot almost live in a world where Canada, you're telling me Canada has one of the best 16 soccer teams in the country? That just seems impossible.
Yeah, it's just the nature of the beast, kind of how it works. Also, the host nations, which this works out for the U.S., host nations tend to perform better when it's in their country. Like, I think it was Korea that reached the semifinal when it was there. So a host nation playing.
They were favored against South Africa, though.
Yeah. No, from what I've read, they have more talent than they've ever had before. They've got some major.
Who's playing soccer in Canada? Losers.
Is it that different from the U.S. though, Dave?
No, but Canada is like such a hockey. No, I agree. Listen, I'm rooting for the U.S. We have that contest we're doing. I had the third pick. I picked the USA. I'm not going to root against the USA on home soil on the 250th birthday of this great country. So I'm all in on USA. I'm also a firm believer that, like, if we put our best athletes in there and gave them 5 to 10 years, we win the World Cup every year. So yes, I just think Canada is even more so. Everyone's like hockey, 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 hockey.
What do you think of that? Is the attitude in Canada changing? Are we still like 99% focused on hockey and all of the other sports are secondary? Or are we starting to diversify a little bit in our sports preferences and in the sports that we're good at? You know, for a long time, Canada was very good at the winter sports, not very good at the summer ones. But when you watch like the Summer Olympics now and things like that, Canada's doing a lot better. I'm not exactly sure why or what changed, but I think some of it has to do with the old Own the Podium program. I don't know why the Liberals canceled that, but Own the Podium seemed to be quite effective, and Canada was doing great on the international stage. And we are once again. But in fairness, the other side of the argument, and I didn't play that whole exchange there on the Barstool podcast, but, you know, I'm thinking about the luck that Canada got. Maybe it's luck, maybe it's not. I'm not a huge soccer guy. Maybe you might know more about this than I do, but it seems very lucky that in the game that allowed Canada to move on to the round of 16, we ended up playing a team like South Africa. Not as highly ranked as, say, last night's matchup with Morocco and the Netherlands. Both of those teams could be finalists, and they played each other in the round of 32. So, you know, I mean, would Canada be in the round of 16 had we played Morocco or Netherlands yesterday? Or did we just get a real good draw and things went our way against South Africa? Hey, it's an interesting question. If you're talking sports this weekend, there's a couple of different sides of the argument about how legit is this Canadian team. Are we that good, or did we just get a really good draw? Something else I want to talk about before I get to the sports and education stuff is gas prices. We all remember how it went down, right? We were paying about $1.35 to $1.40 a liter, and the price of oil was in and around $70 to $73. Then the U.S. and Israel launched a strike on Iran. The Strait of Hormuz got all clogged up because that was something that the Americans and Israelis couldn't stop the Iranians from controlling at the time. And the price of oil went through the roof. So gas prices went through the roof. Now we're in a situation where oil is even cheaper than it was. Oil is down to $68 U.S. per barrel right now. And gas prices, not quite as high as they were at the peak, but they're still a hell of a lot higher than they should be if we're doing an apples-to-apples comparison. You know what I don't understand is these oil companies. They say because there's a backlog and things like that, that's the reason that it's slow for prices to come down. Then how come every time oil goes up, they increase the price overnight? I don't understand why we can't have a situation where the price of oil matches gas and no matter what the circumstance is, it's directly tied to that. You know, in Canada, we do have some external factors there, though. It's not just the price of oil. It's our low Canadian dollar. Have you been following the loonie? 70.26 cents U.S. is what it started trading at this morning. 70.26 cents U.S. We're almost into 69-cent dollar territory. The U.S. dollar is going bananas. It is strong right now, and the Canadian dollar just can't keep up. Too much money in the market. We flooded the market with cash. That helps devalue our dollar. Not a good situation. But anyway, let's get back to gas prices. President Trump, he's noticed what I just talked about. The price of oil is a lot cheaper, but they're certainly taking their time bringing the price of gas down. The president seems like he wants to do something about it. This is about a minute and a half long.
So it's ExxonMobil, it's Chevron, it's Shell, it's BP, it's a lot of them. The gasoline or the oil prices have come down so much, and we are not seeing anything at the pump by comparison to what it should be. We should be, in my opinion, at $2.25 right now at the pump. And we're higher than that. And we are doing a big investigation on it. You know, they're not reducing the prices commensurate with what's happening. Look, we are sending out, think of it, 19 million barrels came out yesterday. That is a flood. That's like a gusher. That's an oil gusher. And they should be much lower, the gasoline prices, which really is what people see more than anything else, but for their car. But the gasoline prices should be much lower at the pump. And the oil companies are possibly gouging. I hope they're not, otherwise they're going to be in big trouble. They're going to be in big trouble. We're not going to play games. Mr.
President, again, why is it taking so long for the price of gas to come down and match the price of oil? Trump said as soon as the conflict with Iran is done, you watch how cheap things are going to get. And sure enough, oil's getting cheap. We should be paying a lot less for gas than we're paying right now. When it eventually does sync up, when there's no more supply issues, which I have to think the U.S. is trying to erase very, very quickly because they do seem to be flooding the market with oil. When prices come down, when supply is back and regulated at the level that it was before the situation in Iran, we should be paying record low prices. We should be anyway. We're getting ripped off right now, though, and thank God somebody is doing something about it. Would Mark Carney ever challenge these gas stations? Say, hey, listen, you're ripping people off. We're going to investigate. I want to know if there's collusion here. I don't know if Mark Carney would do that for the Canadian people. I'm glad to see Donald Trump is doing it for the Americans. Friends, I want to go now to a news conference that actually happened a couple of weeks ago. It is featuring the Minister of Education in Ontario. His name is Paul Calandra. And in fairness, I think Paul Calandra, generally speaking, is a fairly competent minister. He seems like a good guy, and he seems to understand his file, seems to work hard and do his job, and that's all we expect from these politicians. But wow, did he ever put his foot in his mouth. And maybe it was intentional. Maybe he actually thinks this is a good idea. But I don't know how he could. He's announced some changes for the upcoming school year. Part of it is that attendance is going to be linked to a student's grade. Part of your grade is going to be just for showing up. And part of the reason they're doing that is because ever since COVID, there have been record numbers of absences. Kids just don't want to go, and parents aren't making them. So they're going to make it incentivized to go to school. You can get a higher grade. Well, there are some reasons that people miss school. Sometimes it's because they're sick. Sometimes it's because they can't get a ride. Sometimes it's because they slept in. And sometimes it's because they play competitive sports and there's a tournament happening this weekend. You know, I would have thought that when they were laying out this plan for attendance, somebody would have thought about the athletes, the student athletes that play competitive sports and said, wait a second here, that's going to be an excusable absence. If someone has to compete in a tournament, we're not going to penalize them because they're getting physically fit and doing team bonding and possibly getting recruited to further their education. You know, nobody thought of that apparently, because now the education minister has let it be known that is not an acceptable excuse to miss school, and it will count against your grades. That's right. Kids who want to play sports are going to lose grades for going to a tournament with their team as opposed to sitting in a classroom at a desk. Here is the original announcement from the education minister.
Today, I'm also announcing new measures based on feedback from high school teachers. So beginning next year, all high school students across all grades will complete final examinations during a dedicated exam period. These exams will account for a meaningful portion of their grade. Final marks will also incorporate attendance and classroom participation, ensuring a more comprehensive and countable evaluation of student performance. Teachers have also told us that they need better tools and more consistent resources to deliver the curriculum effectively. So this legislation will provide that support, helping ensure consistency and excellency across classrooms in every region of the province. These reforms build on the progress we have already made. Now, as I've often said, teachers are the lifeblood of our education system.
Okay, that was the announcement. Not a lot of details. He did get a question about that from the media. I want to play his response here.
Last question. What are you responding to, including attendance as making up part of students' grades?
Yeah, look, I'm very passionate about that, and I've spoken to so many teachers on this as I've crisscrossed the province. And part of this is a management issue, how teachers are able to manage their classroom. And we've seen absenteeism across the province of Ontario, especially since the pandemic, at levels that I think we have been unable to imagine. It was creeping up before the pandemic, but has certainly climbed since the pandemic and has not come back down to normal levels. I hear from teachers that this causes a lot of challenges in the classroom when a student is coming in and out of the classroom. There is no consistency in that. The old system, the system that we're hoping to replace if the bill is passed, 100% of that mark, by and large, in some instances, was based entirely on coursework. Student did not need to participate. I think this is an important change. It absolutely reflects what teachers and high school teachers have told me would help them get better management of their classrooms, would help prepare their students for the real world and the things that they're going to see. Like all of you here today, I mean, if you're not here, you can't call it in, right? You have to be here and do your work. That is what students are going to face when they're out in public, when they're out working. And I'm passionate about this. I hadn't thought about it until I started speaking with teachers at the high school level who were as passionate as I am about it. I have yet to meet one teacher who hasn't said to me, you've got to do something. Attendance and our ability to manage our classroom and the ability to get the best out of our kids, if they're not participating, is causing us challenges. So that is why we're doing that.
Very, very interesting from the education minister. And I think by and large, most people would probably agree with a lot of what he said. Yes, if you want to get credit, you got to show up. Attendance is essential. Just letting kids come and go as they please, handing in some things, not others, and just basing their grade on what they did hand in, that system is not working, and that is probably not doing the student any favors at all. I think we all agree attendance is important. You got to show up. Participate? That's a slightly different issue. I don't necessarily think you need to participate. For example, when I am in a meeting, I don't participate unless I absolutely have to. I just want to get it over with. And you know what? That's not me trying to be a bad soldier. That's just me wanting to be efficient with my time. When I sit in meetings, I don't contribute, really, unless someone specifically asks me a question. Now, I'm probably a smart enough guy that I could weigh in on the topic at hand. I just don't voluntarily do it because I find it to be a waste of time. And there's a lot of people out there like me that are we're fine. We're good, high-functioning, smart individuals. Just don't necessarily see the appeal of debating various things with a teacher who's got an agenda or other students. So the participation aspect, feel however you want to feel about that. But let's get back to the absences. Big problem. Totally understand. The education minister sounds like these changes are coming from the right place. He says he spoke to a lot of teachers. They told him what an issue this is, and he's decided to take action. Well, I'm going to suggest, for now, respectfully, that he needs to walk back this ridiculous comment, that it's not an acceptable reason to be absent because you're playing in a sports tournament. That is a completely opposite message to send to kids. Nope. You only learn in a classroom. You only learn sitting at a desk. You only learn with that person at the front teaching you the lesson and you doing homework. That's the only way to do it. Now, in reality, anybody who's got a kid or maybe themselves who participated in competitive sports understands that the memories that come out of those tournaments, the team bonding, the social skill development, the skill development overall, all of it contributes to a well-rounded individual. There's a lot of reasons that some of the most successful people on earth credit their time in organized sports growing up. And by the way, you know, I'm talking about sports here because I'm particularly passionate about it and because one of the other hats I wear is helping kids get recruited to different universities. That's not happening without recruiting opportunities. And a lot of the tournaments that take place overlap with some weekdays. It's generally, it starts on a Friday and it runs till Sunday or Thursday to Saturday. That's how a lot of these tournaments run. And that's fine. A lot of kids got discovered, got their opportunity playing in tournaments like that. They wouldn't have that opportunity if they were forced to be in school. You know, part of the balance for a student athlete is to juggle their academics with their athletics. And the way it worked up until now seemed to be just fine. It's very simple. If you need to take time off school because you've got to compete in a tournament, you've got to let the teacher know in advance. If you get any assignment to take with you, you've got to do it while you're traveling. And when you get back, you've got to hand it in. And if you missed any essential time, you've got to make that up in a study hall or after school or what have you. That system was working fine. Telling a kid now, you're going to get punished through your grades. Your report card will suffer if you choose to go to a tournament. That is misguided at best and stupid. Maybe not even that's not that bad an analogy. What a ridiculous idea. What message are we sending to kids here? And by the way, I'm going to speculate a guess that particularly when it comes to the high performance athletes, the ones that are trying out for provincial teams, national teams, things like that, I'm going to suggest they generally are not the kids that are skipping school anyway. There's a whole bunch of issues around the number of kids that are not coming to school. The ones who are in organized sports and out there competing, getting fit, building that rapport with their friends, building their skills, taking advantage of recruiting opportunities, all these things. I don't think they're the problem, but the education minister is going to punish them. So here is what I'm going to propose. I'm going to propose that they make sports tournaments where approved in advance by the teachers, an acceptable reason for being absent from school. And by the way, it's not up to the teacher to determine this is a good tournament and that's not a good tournament, so you can go to this one but not that one. It's really just up to the teacher to determine if the kid can meet the curriculum requirements while they're away. Can they do the work when they're on the road? Can they get caught up when they get back? Is there any accommodation we can make? That's what I mean by the teacher's got to approve it. But there should be no barriers to kids playing organized sports. So the education minister has got to walk this back. I don't know if he's going to come out and clarify, maybe say he misspoke. I certainly don't think he's going to double down because I haven't met a single person yet who thinks this is a good idea. I talked about it on my radio show today, and I don't talk about politics very often on FM radio, but today I felt passionate about this topic, so I wanted to put it out there. Hey, what do you think of this proposal that if a kid decides to go to his hockey tournament this weekend, he could lose a substantial mark on his report card? Not one person in a wide open audience from people all over Southern Ontario in various different age ranges, not one person said this is a good idea. The government spends a lot of money on research. No doubt, if they do some polling, they're going to find out that this is wildly unpopular. Will the government walk it back? Will they claim they misspoke? I don't know. I'm really not sure, because one thing about this government is they're extremely stubborn. They do not like to have to change their mind unless they are painted into a corner. Everyone should keep up the pressure, whether you have kids that play sports or not, whether you played sports or not. And by the way, I think I meant to make this point earlier, but I got a little sidetracked because, again, I'm passionate about this topic. It's not just sports. You know, if you have a kid that's in dance, same thing applies. If you have a kid that is traveling because, I don't know, he's on the debating team, same thing. Maybe they do coding and compete in those various competitions. E-gaming competitions even. Doesn't count. It's the same as sports. They're going to lose marks if they go to the tournament and don't sit in the classroom. I've got a big problem with that, friends. I'm hoping this provincial government realizes that is a mistake, that is sending completely the wrong message to kids, and I hope that they backtrack on this. You know, especially after what this government did to kids with the OSAP funding. To now take away sports as well, or make them choose grades or sports. They've always worked hand in hand together. To draw that line, I can't figure out what this government is thinking, but hopefully they do the right thing and walk it back, because that cannot be allowed to fly, where we are punishing student athletes with grades because they go to a competition. By the way, is that something that would happen in the real world? Yeah, you're damn right. All the time. People ask for time off because they have sporting obligations or because their kid has sporting obligations. This is not unheard of in the real world. So we should start establishing protocol right now in school. Government shouldn't do this. Friends, I told you I'd keep it short, and I did. What are we at, like 20, 25 minutes here? Good enough. You've heard some things. You're a little better informed than you were from watching the mainstream media news. Now I want you to have a great Canada Day. And remember, as soon as Canada Day is over, CUSMA comes back into the equation. The deadline is rapidly approaching for the parties to decide if they want to stay in CUSMA, and all indications are the president is considering pulling out. He has to give notice. It's 6 months that the U.S. is pulling out, but as soon as that happens, it will have a shocking effect on the markets. Is there a last-minute deal in the offing? Is there any chance here that Mark Carney and Donald Trump are going to jump out from behind the Resolute desk in the White House and say, surprise, we did a deal? I don't know. I think anything could happen. It's bizarre that it's the night before Canada Day, and we don't even know where negotiations stand at the moment. We don't even know what the trade irritants are. Got to get a deal done with the Americans. They're celebrating the 4th of July and their 250th birthday on Saturday. Tomorrow, it's all about Canada. Let's keep it about Canada, and let's keep Canada together. Friends, I'll catch you back here with a new episode on Thursday, and I will leave you with the sounds of Pat James and The Whole Truth. Hey now. Oh.